gonna lie, the NFC South last year, we can say it. It was bad. It was very bad. At one point, we did not know if anybody would finish with a winning record. Thankfully, the Saints and the Bucs barely finished above 500 this year. The NFL handing each of these teams a gift, giving them some of the easiest schedules in the league, all of them within the bottom 6, 3 of them within the bottom 4. Katie Mox, Leger Douzable here. We're going to start with the Falcons. Of course, the biggest thing, you got Kirk Cousins, but instead of bolstering the roster, they went ahead and took Michael Penix Jr. We're going to talk about that forever and ever and ever. What do we think about this team? Mind you, Katie, I'll start with you. We get Kirk Cousins for primetime games.
Well, that's the funniest thing, right, is that primetime games hasn't exactly been his strongest suit, certainly not on Monday night. But maybe, the air in Atlanta will help him a little bit. But, yeah, Amanda, for the first time in nearly a decade, there's actually expectations, right, for the Falcons. And credit to Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. and all the drama that ensued at the draft. But like you said, Amanda, 4 primetime games. Man. They only had 1 primetime game in each of the last 2 seasons. And guess what? They went 0-2 in those. They got 3 of those primetime games within the first 5 weeks. But look, strength of schedule, Falcons have the easiest schedule, tied with the Saints. Now, I do think that they'll have a better record on the road. They've got a gauntlet of some home games when you look at the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the Steelers at home. But I'm high on them, 11-6.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not that high at 11-6, but 10-7. I think they win the division. Yeah, I am. I think they win the division. And you talked about it. A lot of people for the last 6 or 7 years, there hasn't been any expectations for the Atlanta Falcons. Matter of fact, in 6 straight seasons, they've won 7 games or fewer. So both of us are going over that win total of 9.5 this year. And it's all because Kirk coach changed. To me, in the first 8 weeks of the season, he was in the MVP category. He was one of the top quarterbacks in the league before going down with the Achilles injuries. Now, Amanda, you brought up a good point. Instead of bolstering the roster, they take the quarterback of the future and Michael Penix Jr. So you wonder how Kirk Cousins feels that pressure when he goes out there. We talked about him struggling on primetime games. I have some earlier. But I want to pull the schedule up for me again real quick, Noah. Week 4 through 7, this is where I think the Atlanta Falcons can make some leeway right here when you look at it, because they play the Saints, Bucs, Thursday Night Football, Panthers. Those are all divisional games, right? If they're able to win those games, and they're all at home, Mox, they have a chance to really separate themselves in this division. So you would think bringing in Kirk Cousins, that was the missing key. Raheem Morris talked about that. If there was better quarterback play, I probably wouldn't be in this position to be head coach right now. I think Kirk Cousins does hold off Michael Penix Jr. for at least another year and a half, and the Atlanta Falcons win this division.
So wait, Atlanta's going to be the Magic City of this division?
I see what you did there.
That was a good one.
I think they will.
That was a good one.
I think they will do that.
If we get to the reigning champs, by the way, they can play the disrespect card from Katie and Leger, backing the Falcons here. But when we talk about the Bucs, Baker Mayfield got re-up. Mike Evans got re-up. Antoine Winfield Jr., highest paid DB as a safety, and yet you don't think they're going to finish with as many wins as the Falcons. But Leger, slightly higher than Katie.
Yeah. I do. Their win total coming into the season, I think Vegas thinks the same way I think, is 7.5. So I do have them going over that. Have them going 9-8, Mox. And when you look at it, Tommy, you stated it perfectly. They took care of their own, right? Didn't really bring anybody new in. And when you see what the Atlanta Falcons did in the offseason, my thing is, if you're the Tampa Bay Bucs, how do you not try to make a key splash in free agency to compete with the Atlanta Falcons? Not only that, Tommy, they lost their best corner. They traded him away in Carlton Davis. That's still a glaring issue for this team right now. And then when you look at the schedule, weeks 7 through 10, Mox, my goodness, Ravens Monday Night Football, a divisional game versus the Falcons. They go to the Kansas City Chiefs, and then they play your Niners. That's where it could crumble for the Bucs in regards to if they could be back-to-back NFC South champs. I think that is going to be telling of the season for them right there.
Yeah, look, you and I are very similar. You've got them going 9-8. I've got them going 8-9 here. They have they're tied for the 27th strength of schedule. Anyone in this division has a fairly easy schedule because the division is the weakest in football. But it's not going to be all smooth sailing, as you have pointed out, for the Bucs. They got 3 divisional matchups in a span of 4 weeks, sandwiched between games against the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Niners. As you just pointed out, I have them going on a 4-game losing streak during that time. They've got 6 playoff teams on the docket. I just think it's going to be tough, even though I do really like this frisky Bucs team as we saw last season.
And another point, and I know we're going to talk about the Panthers later, but Dave Canales not being there, I think is going to be a major issue for Baker Mayfield. Let's not forget, he seems to be a quarterback whisperer. Baker Mayfield had his best season. Geno Smith, when he was in Seattle, had his best season. We'll see how much he has missed in Tampa Bay now that he's moved on to be the Carolina Panthers head coach.
All right, well, with that, let's go to the Panthers then, because he is now the head coach of the Panthers. Of course, Bryce Young. Look, it's hard to win a game in the NFL. It is hard to only win 2 games in an entire season, which is exactly what this Panthers team did. You mentioned Canales, maybe a quarterback whisperer, but neither one of you have them winning many more games than they did last year.
Yeah, I think we both went 5-12. Their win total is 5.5, and they'll be much improved this year. I just think they have to continue.
3 games improved.
Yeah, I think they just have to continue to rebuild this team. We talked about Dave Canales. Hopefully that helps out their young quarterback, Bryce Young. And they got him some protection inside. When you talk about fortifying the interior of that offensive line with Robert Hunt and Lewis at guard as well. And they also got him some better playmakers. I mean, last year, nobody could get off the press for them. Bryce Young was literally burping the baby with the ball because he had nowhere to go with the football. You get Xavier Legette in the first round. You get Deontay Johnson, a true number 1 receiver. I think they'll be much improved, but I still think they'll probably finish last in this division. I think this is a rebuild year for the Carolina Panthers. And then when you look at weeks 12 through 15, you got the Kansas City Chiefs, you have the Bucs who won the division last year, at the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. That's a gauntlet stretch for the Panthers.
The Cardinals are going to be better than last year, too.
Yeah, and I would say the Cardinals right behind that.
Yeah, look, the Carolina Panthers had 2 primetime games last year. The network said, that's enough out of you guys. No primetime for them this year, except for they do have a standalone game in Germany, which is primetime, but not officially primetime. Look, their schedule doesn't project to be so hard. You look at these odds to win the Super Bowl, 300-1. By the way, don't take that bet. It might look
not even $1.
They said that about the Texans last year.
That's true, but I'm not willing to say that the Panthers are the new Texans. That's the Bears. I'm firing on the Bears. That is a team that I like. When you look at this schedule, I do think that their biggest breaks probably come on the road here. They got the Commanders, the Broncos, the Raiders. Maybe those are some winnable games, but again, I give them 5 wins here because it's so hard to have less than 5 wins with a season that spans 18 weeks. Yeah.
And let's finally end with the Saints. Katie, I'll start with you. A bit of a wild card in terms of trying to figure out their win total.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I mean, we look at this front-loaded schedule, right? We're looking at the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Chiefs. They got 3 divisional games within those first couple weeks. I have them going 1-5. I believe we're pretty similar there on that within those first 6 weeks. Derek Carr is a bit of a wild card here, right? How's he going to look? What's this team going to look like? I do think that they sweep the Panthers, probably split the rest of the division here. So I'm not too high on the Saints, but I got a couple wins sprinkled in.
Do you think that 9-8 gets them into the playoffs?
In any other division, no, but I mean.
They could in the NFC. Well, I actually have them going under their total. Their win total is 7.5. I got them right there at 7-10. And Mox, you stated it. I think it's because of the beginning of the season. You have them going 1-5. I have them going 1-6. And then I think the question mark is, when do we see Spencer Rattler, if that is the case? And the thing about this Saints team, they continue to just keep kicking the can down the road when it comes to cap and contracts and restructuring guys. We saw the Atlanta Falcons make moves. We saw the Bucs bring back a lot of their pieces. The Saints literally stayed pat because they were in cap hell and couldn't do anything. I mean, they did get Willie Gay in. They brought in Cedric Wilson. But to me, those 2 players aren't changing the narrative to say the Saints are going to compete for the division. So when I look at this team, I think, Derek Carr, can he get them in contention with a Kirk Cousins, with a Baker Mayfield? And the way that the season starts, I just think they're going to go 7-10, and we'll be counting the days down till Spencer Rattler is the starting quarterback.
Look, I'd love to see it, but I also love Derek Carr. Like, he's a phenomenal person.
I love Derek Carr. I just think they're going to struggle.
He's a great person, but love what has happened for Spencer Rattler. Taking a look at the odds to go ahead and win the NFC South here. Hey, here's the thing. People are always planning their trips. Like, they get the schedule. When are we going to do a guy's trip, a girl's trip, friend's trip? If you want to go to New Orleans and not see a loss, just wait, because the Super Bowl's going to be there. Just go for the Super Bowl, friends. It'll be a lot of fun.
It'll be a little more expensive, too.
A little pricier.